Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Add to Live. I'm your host, Erica Gordon. Tonight we'll be chatting with Add to National Secretary and former Add to Houston President, Marissa Deslatte. Deslatte, sorry.
You got it.
Marissa is a strategic marketing manager at Noblest Health, and she's here to talk with us about improving your website performance. So tonight we're going to do things a little bit differently than usual. Marissa was kind enough to set up a little bit of a presentation for us. So we're going to talk about kind of Noblest Health a little bit and get her background there and then go into the presentation. But you guys can still tweet in all your questions. We just won't address them until the end of the presentation. So Marissa, if you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about Noblest Health and your position there.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for having me. Really love the Add2 family, so more than happy to be a part of this. As Erica mentioned, have a background with Add2 Houston, and I now live in Dallas and serve on the National Add2 Board as secretary. In order to serve on the national board, you must first run as a local president. So I highly recommend everyone get involved at the local level, eventually run for president, and then look at getting involved at the national level as well. So my role at Noblest Health, I started with Noblest Health back in February of 2014. So I've been there about a year and 8 months or so. I started at the Houston office. We are a healthcare company that specializes in minimally invasive surgeries. So we are a public company and we never advertise our name. We advertise what we call direct to consumer. And so we have different brands for each of our different procedures. So our major procedures are North American spine, which is a spine surgery. We also have Migraine Treatment Centers of America, which is a migraine surgery. We have Evolve, which is a weight loss bariatric surgery. We have Houston Heartburn, which specializes in helping people with heartburn or acid reflux. And we also have New Step, which is a podiatry procedure. And we also have MIRI, which is first focus on gynecological health, so minimally invasive hysterectomies. All of our procedures, as I mentioned, are minimally invasive. And so I started with the company when we only had two procedures. We had a back pain procedure and a foot procedure. And I started with the company as a media planner and analyst. So it was my first client-side job. Before that, I had always worked in media on the traditional side at agencies. I worked at agencies both in Houston and in Austin because I went to school at San Marcos at Texas State. So my role at Noblest has just changed throughout the years, and in December of last year, we acquired Athos Health, which is a medical marketing firm based out of Dallas. And so with that acquisition, they moved my department to Dallas, and I was fortunate enough to receive a promotion to strategic marketing manager. So now my day-to-day is a little bit hectic, but I absolutely love it. I focus on lead gen. So our advertising efforts from DRTV to paid search to display to any other campaigns we're running. And then I also focus a lot on how to improve the leads that are coming in. So we're paying this money to get advertisers to come to our website. So then we need to make sure our website is optimized to the fullest so that we are helping them to easily convert into a patient. And when I say patient, that's just what we call them once they fill out a form on our website to learn more information. Being that our focus is surgeries, we don't ever recommend that first. Surgery is definitely not for everyone, and we're never going to push that. We're a very conservative company when it comes to those who need surgery, because again, these are some pretty major surgeries with a spine surgery or a migraine surgery, which is absolutely nuts, and I will explain that later at a later date. But Erica, are you ready? I can get started right away on conversion rate optimization and kind of educate everyone about that.
Yeah, let's just get right into it.
Okay, perfect. So let's see. Okay, so guys, this is pretty entry level. So if you know a lot about conversion rate optimization, I'm gonna apologize in advance, but this is just a way for everyone to to kind of just get a refresher on it if they haven't been a part of it in a while, or to learn something new. Erica, can you see my screen?
No, right now it's just you.
Oh, okay. Let me see. I think I have to do. 1 second.
Take your time.
Okay, I'm going to do screen share. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and you can see that now? Full screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So I'll go ahead and get started. So tonight we're going to go over testing and conversion rate optimization. Since this culture is somewhat new to a lot of people and there are many elements, we're going to focus primarily on how to identify testing opportunities.
Actually, Marissa, just sorry to interrupt, but it's not like the full screen. It's just still in like the slideshow.
Okay.
Like PowerPoint app.
Let's see. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. So conversion rate optimization is defined as the science and art of getting more revenue generating actions from the same number of visitors. So kind of what I mentioned earlier, you're already paying through advertisement to get people to your site. You know, fortunate enough for a lot of people, you do have organic visitors as well, but as we know in our industry, advertising, that we pay to get people to come to our site. So we're getting them there, but if our site's not great, then we're gonna lose them. So we're trying to increase the number of visitors becoming leads instead of falling off the funnel. So to optimize your website, you must first know how to calculate your current conversion rate. So conversion rate is calculated by dividing the visitors who took a desired action or goal by the total number of visitors. So say you have a web form on your website and you have 100 people come to your Add To website, but only 5 of them fill out a form to request more information about becoming a member. So you're going to take that number of people who completed that form, which is 5, and divide it by the total number of people who came to your site, which is 100, which equals 0.05. You then multiply that by 100 to get a percentage, and you end up with 5%. If you're not good at math, you can always double check it by applying that percentage to the number of visitors and make sure it calculates those who completed your form. So there are lots of terms for conversion rate optimization. First of all, everyone abbreviates it CRO. Our industry loves abbreviations, so be sure to know that one. Other people shrink it to conversion optimization, or CO. They also call it landing page optimization, because a lot of times you don't just drive paid advertisement to your website homepage. You want to drive them to a page specific for converting. So the homepage is usually for education, and you want them to navigate your site a bit. But if you drive them to a landing page, then you want them to convert. So there's very few options on there. It doesn't really promote too much exploration or education. And then lastly, we have marketing optimization. Okay, so it's kind of a bold statement to say your website is underperforming, but all websites can be improved. There's not, to my knowledge, any website that has 100% conversion rate, meaning that every visitor that comes to your site has already taken the desired action that you set up. So who optimizes? Just a small few companies like Facebook or Amazon or Google. And let's just do a little throwback. So this is Google, so it's definitely not Throwback Thursday. We'll just do Flashback Wednesday, is that a thing? But so this is Google when they first launched its website back in the mid-1990s. You can tell that they've since optimized the site quite a bit. They've removed the distractions on their page. They focus on what do they want their users to do. They want them to come to this website and search. Yes, the new website, the present day, is a lot more aesthetically pleasing, but do you think this is why they did it? Most definitely not. They did this so it can help conversion rates. Besides optimizing your site to get the most efficient use of your budget, you should also do it for what we call the halo effect. The halo effect is throughout advertising. So I think everyone here is old enough to remember Fabio and his I can't believe it's not butter commercials. This is a prime example of celebrity endorsement. The reason people our brands advertise with a celebrity is because of the halo effect. So the halo effect is a psychological bias in which our perception of someone's strengths or even weaknesses influences our perceptions of their other attributes. So if someone is positive and a great role model, then they will associate that positiveness to your website. Also, the same reason why if a celebrity is doing something negative or getting a lot of negative press, a brand might drop them immediately. So when your website is underperforming or it just doesn't look great, that also has a halo effect on your company. So now that you guys are firm believers in optimizing, let's review a 4-step process, which is a continual circle. For simplification's sake, we'll just combine the first 2 steps into what I like to call the pre-testing stage. So we research and analyze data for our brands, pages, and even different design variations. So like my company, we have several brands, and each of those brands have their own website. Thankfully, they only have one website a piece because that could get pretty tricky. But each of those websites have several different pages, and each of those pages have different design variations that we can test on them. So when we then set up a test and we run them and we review their performance. Test results sometimes spark a new idea because each test results can form another hypothesis. So you go in thinking that the reason something is underperforming is because of A, but it turns out that proved false. So you start thinking, what could have caused it? So then the whole process just kind of starts over again. So that's why it's this cycle. But we'll begin with research. So research and analysis helps you to prioritize. So again, identify a hierarchy of your websites. If you have multiple, prioritize your pages within that website. So as I mentioned earlier, you usually send say you're running a display ad, and your display ad is focused on, say you're Nordstrom's, you're running a display ad and you're focusing on retargeting people who search for shoes. You do not want to send those people who are searching for women's shoes to your homepage or to your t-shirts page. So you're going to send them to the shoes page. You want it to be easy for them.
Right.
So this is how you prioritize your page. So my team focuses on the most expensive pages, meaning the pages that we send a lot of traffic to via advertising. And then we focus on those of the most expensive pages that produce the fewest leads. So that means their conversion rate is really low. So we apply a weighted rank in this to them to identify the most opportunity for improvement. Sometimes these pages or brands might be switched around too because there might be an urgency to it. Say you notice some huge errors on a certain page of your website. Well, you're going to get those corrected right away and start testing new things on it. And then the third point is rate elements in that page. So each page typically has multiple conversion opportunities. So you might have a web form, you might have an exit pop-up form. Whatever it is, you're going to have several pieces of different information. You're going to have images, you're going to have text. So all of those elements could be tested. So for elements, I work with web developers to rank those on a hard, medium, and light scale, utilizing what we call the lift model. And we note strategic alliance and ease of implementation and improvement to user experience. So between what we have ranked for the most expensive page, fewest leads, and easiest to implement and most opportunity with the web developers, that helps us to identify exactly what pages and what parts of that page to work on first. So I mentioned a lift model. So I want to go ahead and educate you guys on what the lift model is. Lift stands for landing page influence function. So using this lift model, you want to enhance relevance and clarity while reducing anxiety and distraction. So you do this with a strong value proposition and a sense of urgency. So there are a few main items on this lift model, so we'll get started with value proposition. Your value proposition is the full set of perceived benefits and costs associated with cost of taking your action. So once your benefits outweigh your costs, your visitor takes action. So remember that value propositions are perceived, and depending on the person, they could always interpret colors, images, tones, and other things differently than you. Everything counts when it comes to value proposition, like your choice to advertise on TV, which has a high value, or maybe you advertise in a public bathroom or somewhere of that nature, which might have a low value. So this is a good reason why you should utilize A/B testing on your website for everything from images to verbiage and tones, just to make sure that you're reflecting who your target audience is and what they want to see. So a great example of a really strong value proposition is Spotify. They say they are the soundtrack your life. Let Spotify bring you the right music for every mood and moment. The perfect songs for your workout, your night in, or your journey to work. So it's very clear who they're trying to target and why they're so great and why you want to use them. I absolutely love their value proposition.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So creating your value proposition. There are many different features and benefits and attributes that make up your value, and you couldn't possibly explain all of them in every single advertisement or on every landing page. So you want to find important to your target. So we like to look at what we call points of parity. So your points of parity might be called POPs, because again, we love abbreviations in this industry. And those are features that you offer that are important to your prospects, but are also shared with your competitor. So this is just your basic needed element to compete. Say you're a shoe company, and so you and your competitor both sell shoes. So, and your shoes have it online and in store. So those are the basic needs you have to compete in this type of industry. So your points of differences, or pods, are where you can really win the game. So you compete with your points of parity, and then you win the game by having some differences than your competitor. So these are features that are important to your prospects, but your competitor doesn't have them available. So maybe your online store offers free shipping and free returns, and maybe your in-store has free returns. And the customers at the other stores don't have that, and so that's highly valuable to them. So another term for pods is unique selling proposition, or USP. So a great way to test driving up your conversion rate is starting with your USP or your value proposition on your website, and specifically on those highly targeted and highly trafficked landing pages. So let's say you created a great value proposition. It's been tested. It's doing wonderful. So where do you go next on your website? The next part of the lift model is to increase relevance. You should always be asking, does this page relate to what the visitor wants to see? A lot of companies want to put a lot of information on every page, and it can be very distracting. So make sure that you have relevant information on specific pages. When visitors are in the searching mindset, they switch to a faster mode of processing information. It's kind of like when you're cramming for that test. You might not read every page in that chapter. You'll just skim it. That's kind of what people like to do on websites too. So they're constantly looking for different cues to help them get along to the right path. This excerpt from Wired, Hot on the Scent of Information, talks about how we still search for cues, images, and hyperlinks and other areas related to information. So it says, evolutionarily, the optimization strategies that are innate in each one of us looking for food in the natural environment often occurs extremely often in about everything we do. So just how we act out in the wild, our survival instincts are the exact same as our online habits. So to keep prospects following the path that leads to your call to action, or your CTA, you should maximize that scent trail that they're looking for. Items that you can maximize include utilizing specific words, imagery, colors, or layouts. So you want your call to action to contrast with the rest of your website. You might use words like "get started here." You might use imagery like the images on your page might be looking directly at your call to action with their eyes. So all of that just helps lead it to your call to action and makes it very easy for them to for them to find your call to action. So each landing page should be relevant to a specific part of the marketing funnel. It should be relevant to your media source, to your target, to your competitive environment, and navigation preference of your visitor. So it's really making it all about them and making it as easy for them and what they want to see. So you should also be working to improve clarity. So you should always ask, does this page clearly articulate the value proposition and call to action? Because again, those are the two main focus of your page. You shouldn't underestimate your visitor's ability to misunderstand you. Everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. You have to remember that you're talking to a vast array of different audience and different visitors when they come to your website. So you want it to be as simplified as possible. So content clarity will ensure that the images and text combine to minimize the viewer's time needed to comprehend. They should constantly be reinforcing the value proposition and guide them to your call to action. So a good rule of thumb for this is utilizing bullets when you can throughout your copy, putting images in there so you give the viewers a break for their eyes so they're not reading a novel on your website. So designing for clarity creates clear eye flow and a prominent call to action. For instance, a lot of times if you use boxed content, it inhibits the eye flow, while arrows and directional cues like the eyes, like the imagery on the site, having their eyes or even maybe their hands focusing towards your call to action will assist with that eye flow. Another thing you see most often on websites is misaligned images. So they'll have a box, they'll say they have 3 boxes of content all in a row. They'll have one that is a lot longer than the other, one image that's bigger than the other, and all of this kind of reduces that clarity. Color can be used for clarity. That's why a lot of brands have color guidelines. You can be consistent with the color chosen for your CTA throughout the site so that they always know, hey, when I see orange, that means like that's an action I need to take. Your call to action should always be prominent. You want to think of the old sales saying, close early and close often. You want to be there when they're ready to make that transition from visitor to official lead. So in most cases, call to actions work best when they're just underneath, just enough content to convince your visitor to act. You don't want it right there, huge and in their face. You want it at a good time so that they are comfortable and ready to convert into a lead. The wording of the CTA or call to action is also very important, just like the design and the color. Again, you want it to pop out, you want it to be comfortable for them, and you want it to reiterate that urgency and just be easily understandable. So, as Warren Buffett said, you only have to do a very few things right in your life, so long as you do not do too many things wrong. This should constantly, I think I love this quote because it's so true. It's kind of like people get a lot of bad reviews on websites or products or something like that, but it's very rare for you to go in and write a good review. So you should constantly monitor your website for opportunities to reduce anxiety. Because they say on average it takes 12 positive experiences to make up for 1 unresolved negative experience, which is actually absolutely crazy, but I completely believe it. So anxiety is any uncertainty in your visitor's mind about completing the conversion. They say an anxious mind creates a closed wallet. So when it comes to online anxiety, some types are privacy anxiety. Maybe you don't want, say it's a big medical website like your health insurance provider, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they're asking for your social security number. You might feel comfortable filling that out, but if you were going to some random website for not a big company, not relevant enough, and they're asking for your social security, I highly doubt you would give that away for fear of identity theft and other things like that. Other types of anxiety online is called usability anxiety. So I've seen this time and time again on forums. A lot of times websites are using the CAPTCHA or something to make sure you're not a robot, a spam, someone trying to spam or anything like that. So they'll make you type in the codes, or like type in exactly what you see in this blurred box that you can barely see. And then if you type it in correctly, and it still tells you it's wrong and you keep trying and trying again, you might get frustrated and just leave that site. You might not even want to deal with it because they've just given you so much anxiety and you don't trust that source anymore.
Right.
So the last thing we want to monitor and reduce on our pages are distractions. So are there items on your page that could possibly divert your visitors away from the goal? Distractions are anything on the page that redirects attention away from the primary message and call to action. So traditionally, it was always thought that the more options you gave a consumer, the more products you could sell. So Coca-Cola offers hundreds of drink options, but they thought that wasn't enough, so they introduced the freestyle machine. So you know the machine where you can mix and match and make your own kind of soda?
Yes.
That's what they broke out. And I don't know about you or where you're from, but in Southeast Texas, where I was raised, we call these suicides. And they were not called suicides because they taste great and everybody wanted to drink them. They were kind of like a dare, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a researcher in the field of behavioral economics, and he's the author of Predictability Irrational. His name is Dan Ariely. And he has shown that the more choices that we have, it oftentimes overwhelms us and reduces our conversions.
That's so true. Those machines, those Coca-Cola machines, give me major anxiety. I don't know what to get.
I mean, it's like when you go to a new restaurant and they have so much on the menu, you end up asking the waiter, like, what is your favorite thing? Please tell me.
Yeah.
So this is a classic case that I recently learned about, and since I swear I hear it everywhere, so I'm really excited to teach you guys about it. This is from Ariely's research. So he set out a table with jams for sale. Sometimes the table had only 6 types of jams, and the other time the table had 24 types of jams. So when there were the 24 types of jams, so the large table, 60% of the people who stopped at the table to look at it would try a sample. However, when the table had 6 jams on it, only 40% of people who were walking by stopped and sampled the jam. So like if you ended your research there, you'd be like, okay, great. The 24 jams are a hit. So many people are stopping by and trying a sample. But again, that's just like advertising. We're paying these people to come to our website, but are they doing what we want them to do? No, these people are sampling, which is great, but they're not buying the jam. So then he looked further into his research. He said, okay, so how many people, what percentage are actually buying the jam for each of the tables? So with the 6 jam option, 30% of the shoppers purchase, but with the 25% or with the 24 jam display, only 3% of them purchase. So with too many options, they became overwhelmed and did not purchase, even though it was a very, very simple decision. Again, this kind of reminds me of the menu example.
Yeah.
Like, it's a simple decision. What am I going to eat today? What am I going to purchase? And they just, it was too much for them to think about and too much of them to do. So so just to give you a conversion rate of this, if there were 100 people, that would mean for the 6 jam table, it was 12 people, or 12% converted from passive buyer to purchaser. If it was a 24 jam table, 2 people, or 2% from passer buyer became a purchaser. So that's an over 400% or 500% increase, going from 24 jams to just 6 jams, which I'm sure most people thought it would be the complete opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So urgency, we'll start seeing this a lot with the holidays coming up. You'll see these timers on everything. Amazon started adding these timers to their website for, and a lot of companies do this for, you have this many more minutes to fill out this form or to complete your purchase. That's what they say. It's only because they want to put that that sense of urgency in you to get you to convert. So is there any indication on your personal website that there's an action that needs to be taken now? If not, there definitely should be. We went over the lift model previously, and the last step of it is urgency. So there are 2 types of urgencies. One's internal and one's external. So internal is based on how the visitor feels upon arriving to your site. So we have very little control about this. If you were coming to my site and so again, I work in healthcare and we do surgery. If you were coming to my site and you're in absolute pain, you can't move, you can't function, you might pick up the phone and call us despite how terrible our website is. Because you would literally just crawl over glass to get this conversion taken. You want to proceed with this company no matter what. So external urgency is the second type, and it can be influenced by the marketer. So this is why you see variables like limited time offer or seasonal reminders, or even just the tone of the copy, like get started now. So all this impacts your external urgency. So this little guy is going to teach us about design variations. The lift model helps you to identify problem areas for you to test for improving, but who comes up with these new variations? This is a question I got a lot with my company. So you're in charge of testing. You should think about this. You should think about that. And again, it is my job to help identify these and to rank them and prioritize them. But we all need to be constantly looking at our websites because we all have a different background and we all have different viewpoints and ideas. So you might have been with a company previously that saw this, or you might have been shopping on this website and saw this and thought, hey, this is a great test idea. Can we see if this strategy can be used for our company? So we all pitch in at my company to come up with different design variations, and I try my best to keep everyone updated and let them know if their design variation won. And it's kind of exciting at our company too, to see who thinks what's gonna win. It's almost like a game or something, like who votes variation A is gonna win, or who votes variation B, and then you sit and wait and see what actually wins. So once they supply these ideas, again, I rank them utilizing the lift model, the ease of implementing, and what kind of increase it'll have to our user experience. So next, we set up our test. In the testing stage, we develop a hypothesis, which is a proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation. For example, we might say that replacing a site-wide rotating header, so say we had a header on our website that was the same header on every single page, no matter what you clicked, and this header rotated with our most recent offers. And what if we took one of our high landing pages and we replaced that rotating site-wide header with a static image that had a banner that was focused on what that page is, what page you're on, what you're supposed to do there, and just really drove home our value proposition. So we would say that putting a relevant static image banner on there would increase overall page conversions, specifically the conversion from the call to action in the header or located near the header. But in order to properly test, you have to know your metrics. So we need to know what our previous conversion rate was for that page. And we need to have a testing tool to monitor the improvement or maybe even reduction of conversions on that site. So there are tons of tools out there, and I highly recommend that you, if your company is interested in them, research them, see what's best for you. But this is just a little bit of what we use. So my company sets up our tests in a tool called Optimizely, which makes it pretty easy for you to edit elements on your page and control who's going to see them, when they're going to see them. It allows you to fill in your hypothesis. It's a really great company, and I highly recommend them. But we also monitor our pages with our internal CRM, which stands for Customer Relations Management System. So anytime you have a lot of customers, your company probably has some type of CRM, or your client might have a CRM. We also utilize Google Analytics and Crazy Egg. So all of these do a little bit of different things. So Optimizely will help us set up our test, and it will tell us when it's statistically stable. So it will run a test and say, you know, currently this is only 80% statistically stable, or maybe it's only 5%. The stability really varies on how much different variation A results are from variation B, and then also different things like how much traffic's going to your site. Low traffic sites will take a lot longer to be statistically stable. So our CRM tells us a little bit further down the conversion path, because Optimizely just tells us how many people clicked on something or viewed the thank you page after they submitted a form. But our CRM, since we work in healthcare, tells us a little bit further down the funnel. So first, our patients become, our visitors become a lead, and then they might submit an MRI, they might get their insurance verified, they might come in for a free consultation, different things like that. So we try to monitor all the way down the path to make sure that they're not just, that the variation that we're calling a winner isn't just a winner from the very beginning. So, and then we use Google Analytics to tell us a little bit more about the site behavior, even outside the test page. So did they go to our page and then explore options more around different pages on our site because they didn't find what they were looking for? And then lastly, Crazy Egg shows us more about what they're doing on our site. So what are they clicking on that might not be a goal set up in Optimizely, or what's most visible on their screen? Are they converting more from desktop versus mobile, different things like that. So once your test is noted in Optimizely as statistically stable, you determine a winner, but it's not always a clear winner. So you look at it from different viewpoints. So maybe new users versus returning website visitors preferred different variations. Maybe it varied by your referral source. So when I say referral source, I mean organic versus display-driven versus TV-driven ad sources. Maybe mobile did really well for one version, desktop did very well for another version, and tablet didn't really see any change. There's so many different ways to look through data, and you want to make sure you're looking through all the main points. Some variations may win across the board, and some may not win at all, and even sometimes there might be a tie. So in summary, you always want to be testing, because if you're not testing, you're just guessing. And remember that some user experience just sucks. So that's all I have for you guys today, but I'm more than happy to take questions or anything else you guys want to know about conversion rate or website testing, or just about what I do in general.
Okay, well, that was so informative. I'm really impressed with that whole presentation and how you put all that together. We really appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, no problem. And I don't mind sharing that deck with anyone who wants to see it. More than happy to send that out and chat further with you, because I know if you're not familiar with this, it can be a little bit overwhelming.
Right. So one question that I had, I know you were just talking about how you should always be testing, but just for like individual tests, how long typically do you run them for?
So it really varies. And so while we're talking about testing specifically for websites today, you can test everything. You can test, if you're doing an e-blast, you can test different headlines. So you want to try to, so when you're not using a testing tool like Optimizely, you want to have your variations as close as possible. You want, you know, say you're doing an e-blast campaign, you want to send it to approximately 50% of the people gets variation A and 50% gets variation B, and you want to send them at the exact same time of day on the exact same day, so that you can't say, well, Wednesdays are better days, that's why this one did better. Those types of tests, it really just, you want to run those as long as, you want to run them as accurately as possible, and you want to run them until you see a difference. Maybe say you were sending 100 emails to each type, so 200 total, 100 got this headline, which is headline A, 100 got headline B, but they had basically the same open rate. So then maybe you didn't send it to enough people. So you're going to test it again the next time and send it to a larger amount. With Optimizely, it tells you exactly how long to run the test based on when it's statistically stable. And again, this varies. So if your website has 250,000 unique visitors a month, it might take you 2 months to achieve stability. It really varies based on how many people are coming to your site, how many people are converting, and how big of a difference it is. So if variation A and variation B are very close in conversion rate percentages, then it's too close to tell. You want to keep running that test longer until you identify a clear winner. Because sometimes there's just a natural sway in how your audience, goes about your website.
Okay. So take it over to Twitter. Zelvidi92, and I don't know if you'll know the answer to this question, but going back to the Google page, did Google's mobile optimization change the way websites are built?
Yes, so that's a little bit more from an SEO perspective and even SEM. So yes, I mean, just the use of mobile in general has changed a lot of things. We constantly monitor what percentage of our viewers, our visitors to our website are mobile. And that's why when you're running a test, you might run a mobile specific test versus a desktop, because you have to think about different screen sizes, and a lot of people are doing responsive designs. So maybe they didn't think it through and shrink it and see that their web forms here are this big and you can't read it, or different things like that. So yes, a lot of people are starting to build out websites thinking mobile first.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question. If not, tweet back and I will definitely do my best to answer that.
Another one we have from Perso Natalie. How did you learn all this? That was a lot.
Well, I will tell you the honest truth, which is the scary truth. I had I had just moved to Dallas for my new job. Again, I was with the same company in Houston, but we changed our location to Dallas, and we had a new boss and all this stuff, and he believed in me and challenged me at the same time. So I came home from a Euro trip for about I think I was gone 14 days, and I come home and he's like, hey, here's this great book called You Should Test That. So I highly recommend y'all buy that. You should test that. And I want you to read all of this by Friday and develop a strategy for our company. So this was like a Tuesday. So I was like, okay, great. Welcome to your career.
Right.
I have to read all of this outside of work. And I was very passionate about it. I did a lot of research on my own. I started watching all the stuff. I read as much of this book as possible. I brainstormed with as many people as possible. Again, shout out to Add2 across the nation, because I love when I don't know something, I don't have to ask my boss and look like I don't know something. Instead, I reach out to a bunch of young professionals and utilize their resources, utilize their knowledge, and just kind of brainstorm with them. So I read that book, and then he was very impressed with the proposal I put together. I put together a strategy of, here's what we've been doing, here's why it's wrong, and here's how we need to move forward. And he liked it so much that he sent me to San Francisco to go to a training and a conference that Optimizely, the company we utilize for website A/B testing, was hosting. So I got to go out to their headquarters, which was amazing, and do some training with them. And then I went to this conference for a few days and just completely fell in love with website testing. I originally thought it was going to be boring, or like, okay, I'm going to do the same thing every day. It's this vicious cycle that I'm constantly going to be trying to solve this problem, and then there's going to be a new problem, or I'm going to guess wrong. So I was a little nervous about it, but then when I got there, I absolutely fell in love. You hear about companies who make these minor changes, and they increase their sales by thousands of dollars a month because they just made it easier and more relevant for their consumer. And I absolutely love that. With our industry and my job specifically, I'm dealing with people who are in pain, and I don't want to make their website experience more painful than it has to be. So I want to help them find the resources that they need and get help as quickly as possible.
Wow. That's what we love about you, Marissa. You're so driven. Like the fact that he gave you this book and you have to read it in this short amount of time and give a presentation on it at that, and you just killed it. It just goes to show, like hard work and a lot of effort. It definitely pays off. Like, we're really happy for you over here in Houston, where you definitely celebrate your success.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
So another question I had for you, are you seeing any innovative design techniques that are helping conversions?
Yes. Let me think about this one a little bit. So again, I mentioned responsive. I think responsive is great because, again, people just had this desktop version that they were expecting people to utilize on mobile too, or on tablet. And now designers are faced with so many challenges because they're having to think, you know, typically we say desktop, mobile, and tablet, but it's not that anymore. There are so many different types of tablet. People are watching things on their TV now, and or on their second monitor, and that's going to be a different screen size than your laptop. So just having to think of all those is really cool and challenging. And then also they have so many systems now. My company is utilizing a feature called Marketo. It's who we partner with, and it allows our website to change content and change images based on your background. So if you come from Houston, maybe our phone number goes from a unique phone number to a local Houston phone number, so you feel more comfortable contacting us. And maybe front and center is going to be our Houston location, and say, not in Houston, here's some other options, because you do get into, people have IP addresses from different cities, which could skew that information. But yeah, I mean, there's some amazing things out there, and I love geeking out and reading about it.
Let's see. I think we have some more questions. What is the number one thing you see websites doing wrong?
Oh my gosh, so much. Let's see. Number one thing. I think people just, especially our industry, we're always in a hurry to hurry up and get things done because we know we can fix it later. We can, especially a website. It's a live, you know, entity that we can edit at any time. It's not like a print collateral that goes out and then, oh crap, it went to the printer. Now we're stuck with this typo. Our website, I feel like we rely on being able to edit it too much. So people just get things up there to get it done, and they don't really take the time to put themselves in their visitors standpoint, or even bring some visitors in and say, hey, can you walk us through this website? And they don't think about their target audience. For my healthcare field, we have a lot of elderly. Like, we would love to have some really cool modern websites, but that's not going to work for our target. They're not going to understand some of those functionalities. So we have to keep it simple. So I think just not keeping in mind who their target is or what they're there to do. So rotating banners, if that's a simple one. That's why I use that example. You'll see people that have the same banner or header on every single page of their website. And a lot of times they're not thinking, if somebody's looking, well, first of all, it doesn't need to be the same for every page because it should be unique to each page so you know what page you're on. And then it takes up so much room. You're putting this huge header on every single page, and if I'm looking at on a mobile or tablet, then you're already taking over 30 to 40% of my viewing space. So just really doing your research on who your visitors are, and then looking at it on every device, and not saying, okay, we need to get this up, we can edit it later. No, really taking the time to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, because then otherwise you end up with this website with several different pages that people don't even know where they're located or how to use them. And even just the navigation bar is confusing. And, you know, having this clearly designed website is going to help with your SEO. I mean, Google wants it to be as easy as possible for your visitors.
Okay. Let's see what else we've got. Do you find it more beneficial to test the action overall versus the type of user or persona and the action?
Okay, so explain real quick, test the action versus
the type of user or persona and the action.
Let me make sure I understand. So when you say action, so maybe changing out the call to action, like instead of a web form, is that what you mean, or?
I think so. This is one of the tweets. So
okay. So you can't change your user. So I don't know if I'm misunderstanding your question. So definitely feel free to.
Let me read it, see if I can figure out what they mean. No, yeah, we're going to need some clarity on that one, guys.
I mean, I will answer from what I think you're trying to ask. I think a lot of brands try to make their look like they want to have a cool look, or they want to reflect where they are, or something like that. And again, if it doesn't match who your target is, you're not going to be speaking to the right people. So you definitely want to make sure you know who your target is and you're speaking to them. You're not going to change your target. It's very hard to, everyone's trying, especially print magazines, they try to get a younger target, younger demographic. It's a very, very hard thing to achieve. So you really can't change your target, but you can adjust different call to action. So you should know like our website, I think we have 5 call to actions total, and they're different on every page, but our total website has 5 total, because we narrow it down to what do visitors want to do on our website. They want to schedule an appointment. They want to ask us a question. They want to have a free info kit or a free webinar, or they just want to learn more about our product. We could put all kinds of things up there. We could push, sign up for our e-newsletter, sign up for our blog, follow us on social media, all of this different thing, but you have to really prioritize what actions are desirable for each page in your website overall.
Oh, solid. Hopefully that answered their question. Well, let's see. From Judy Rio, how are you able to discern poor performance on a website versus a negative website's trends when you're testing?
So poor performance versus a negative website's trends. So they have this thing I didn't talk about today. It's called AA testing, and it's where you literally run a test. You duplicate your page, and you don't change anything though, and you run the test just like that, so that you can see the natural sway in things. So you might say, on a really bad week, we might have this conversion rate. On a high week, we have this. So that kind of identifies those trends. So then when you run that A/B test, you're going to want to win by a variation greater than that natural sway. So that helps you identify any kind of negative trends you might have on your website. And one thing I didn't really talk about, I did mention if your website has a small amount of traffic, it takes longer to reach stability when it comes to statistical stability. So a lot of times we have to say, is running this test worth it? If we're going to get only a 0.05% increase, is that enough to make any difference based on how long it's going to take to run this test? And some things are, we say you should test everything, but some things are common sense. If it's just confusing, doesn't need to be there, don't be afraid to clean up your site. I guess this is one of the things I guess I could have said earlier about what I see wrong a lot. A lot of people want to change their website. They want to make these edits. They want to make these updates, but they don't know where they were to begin with. They don't know what their conversion rate was. They don't know if it was working or not working, and they don't know how to answer that. And that's really scary. Like, why are you changing it just because you want it to be prettier to you, or why? So just utilizing Google Analytics, I believe it's free for, I think, everyone. I mean, they have some things that are premium, but for the most part, you can set up Google Analytics and start monitoring who your target is and what they're doing on your site.
Okay, so just one more question for you, Marissa. Should companies use site templates like Wix or Squarespace, or should they be made by coding?
So I think it depends. It depends on what talent you have in-house, what your turnaround time is and stuff. We personally have developers and designers that build out custom wireframes for us, but that doesn't mean that we don't get inspiration from other sites that already have them pre-built. So again, just when you go to look at a page, before you start designing it, start prioritizing the content that needs to be on there. And I think that will help you get an idea of how to lay it out. But I don't think there's anything wrong with websites that are already pre-built.
Okay. Well, I know I have a couple more questions, but we're kind of running out of time. So Marissa, if you want to check out those tweets, maybe you'd be willing to answer those as best you can on Twitter with the,
Oh gosh, yes. I can go through anything in 140 characters. I get in trouble all the time at work because I'm so chatty, but I will do my best. If not, I will message you and we'll schedule a call.
I struggle with that too, though. Like as far as like running people's social medias and stuff, it's so hard to get all the information in there. Like, thank God for the images because literally you can't do it.
Agree. I don't think in 140 characters.
No, not at all. But okay, so thanks so much, Marissa. We really appreciate it. I feel like we all learned a lot today. I can't tell you enough how proud we are of everything you've accomplished over there in Dallas. We miss you, but we support you.
Thank you again. So happy to be a part of this. Love my Add-To family. Houston was my home. It's where I got my start in it, and you will always have a special place in my heart. So here to help out anytime I can, here to be a resource for any of you guys. I always love reviewing resumes, helping match you with recruiters, or keeping an ear out for jobs in that market, because it's a great market and it's a great we just have a great ad industry there. So I highly recommend getting involved and getting to know some of those wonderful people like Erica. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, tell everyone from Add-To Dallas we said hi, and I guess we'll see you or talk to you soon.
Yes, perfect. And I will see y'all at mid-year in Dallas. So.
Okay.
Bye guys. Have a great night.
Bye, Marissa.